Welcome to the world of the lost, where we explore the unexplained and the mysterious. Nova Scotia has a long memory, not just in its history books, but in its land, its shoreline, and the stories people quietly pass along. Because here is not just one strange thing, it's many, across time, across places. People keep encountering things that don't quite fit. It might sound like an exaggeration, but giant beavers once lived here. The species is called Castoroides, an extinct beaver that lived during the last ice age. They could grow over 6 feet long and weigh as much as a black bear. Fossils have been found across North America, including in Canada. But here's what's interesting. They weren't just large, they were built for a very different world. Their teeth weren't shaped quite like modern beavers, and there's still debate about whether they built dams the way today's beavers do, which raises a quiet question. If they didn't behave the same way, what did their landscape look like? Did they dam rivers and create lakes like the legends of the indigenous people say? Were they builders or simply water dwellers like today's muskrats? If the past still lingers in the shape of the land, then it's not such a stretch to wonder what else might still be here, unseen and unacknowledged. Because not all mysteries belong in the distant past. Some are reported right now. Officially, cougars don't exist in Nova Scotia. Wildlife authorities have maintained for years that there's no established breeding population. And yet, reports keep coming in. Sightings from hunters, hikers, rural residents, people who know the difference between a dog, a bobcat, and something else. Descriptions are often consistent. A long tail, a low, fluid movement, a large cat slipping silently into the trees. There have even been physical traces reported, tracks, fleeting video, distant photos, but nothing that has been universally accepted as proof. So we're left in a strange place. Too many sightings to be easily dismissed, but not enough evidence to officially confirm, which leaves the question hanging. Are these isolated animals passing through? Or is there something living here that exists just outside the boundaries of what's been documented? Whether cougars are living and breeding here or not, the pattern is familiar. Something seen, gone before it can be confirmed, and it's not limited to the woods. In the marshes, the stories become less defined and somehow even harder to explain. In August of 1913, a story appeared in the Thorburn Post. The headline was simple: Marsh monster exists? According to the report, something had been troubling the area around Thorburn, Pictou County. Chickens were being taken from coops. Milk was being taken directly from cows. One resident, Mrs. Irvin McKay, described what she saw outside her home. She said it was something big and shadowy, something that frightened her enough to send her back inside. The report goes on to describe tracks, large footprints up to 15 inches long, clearly not made by anything recognized at the time. A local widower also claimed to have seen the creature and said it retreated into the marsh before he could get a closer look. And then there's the detail that lingers. According to local accounts, this wasn't something that appeared once and disappeared. It was said to return roughly every 50 years, staying for a time, causing concern, and then vanishing again. The article itself doesn't claim to explain it. It simply records what people said they experienced, And maybe that's what makes it so enduring. Not that it proves anything, but that it shows people were seeing something enough to write it down. And in Nova Scotia, those kind of reports don't stay in one place. From inland marshes to the edge of the ocean, people have been noticing things for a very long time. Because along the beaches of Cape Sable Island, the stories don't involve something in the reeds, but something seen in the open. Along the beaches of Cape Sable Island, there's a story that's been told for generations, not of a creature, but of lights, small, distant at first, appearing along the shoreline at night. Years ago, before modern roads connected the communities, people often traveled the beaches on foot. It was easier going. Even in the dark, the reflection of starlight on water and sand gave just enough light to find your way. And it was during these walks that the lights would most often be reported. Witnesses described them as moving, sometimes hovering, sometimes shifting direction, and at times seeming to follow. Not behaving like lanterns, not fixed like distant homes, something else. Over the years, different explanations have been offered. Atmospheric reflections, gases, distant lights distorted by conditions along the coast, and some of those explanations may account for certain sightings, but like many of these stories, there isn't one explanation that fits them all. Because the reports are not identical, but they are consistent in one way. People saw something, enough to remember it, enough to pass it on, and enough that they can't all easily be explained. Have you seen anything strange? Do you have any thoughts on what these things might be? If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and maybe even subscribe, because just like you never know what's hiding just beyond sight, you never know what my next story will be about. Until next time, stay curious.